Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Trek Yards. I am Captain Foley.
And I am Connor Coggins, and Stuart. We've reached the second week of Discovery, Season 3.
Which is called Far From Home, and I gotta say, I'm a fan. This is what I wanted for the first episode. You know, I think this should have been the first episode, and ended with the way it did, and then the next episode start 1 year earlier. I think that would have been a lot more impactful.
Yeah, I liked the stuff in the bar for the most part, and I really didn't care as much about the stuff on Discovery, which is most of it. I'm kind of torn on that because we want to know about these side characters, but if you don't give them interesting stuff to do, and the ship itself is still a ship that we don't like as a character, you're kind of left as, okay, they're fixing it, okay. And the new villain guy introduced was rather well acted. I thought he was actually did a very, very good job. I think this is the sort of episode where, unlike last week where we kept shifting places, this is a 40-minute episode, which they then said, well, we need to start and end at these 2 points. Let's just keep adding sort of in between stuff, because it definitely wasn't 52 minutes worth of content in this. It was barely 40, and obviously we wanted those moments, but they didn't quite give the people the really good moments. Like Stamets, I mean, okay. No one really got gold in this, except the villain, ironically, and those new aliens.
I'll disagree. I think Saru was amazing.
Yeah, he did pretty well.
He showed his captaining really well, and I really appreciate the way he captains. He is stern when he needs to be, but he's also caring and kind to when he needs to be as well. So I'm actually really impressed.
Well, they're not smart, is because he's trying to negotiate with a guy with literally no bargaining position, and they're just going to shoot him. Like, he wasn't being he had no way out. He's not a very good, Picard, Kirk, whatever would think, I'm going to do a way out. He had nothing. It's only because Giorgio showed up that he was able to escape. So he's not the smartest guy in the world, but we.
And speaking of Giorgio, I couldn't stand her in this episode until the bar scene, and that's where she shone through because. In Deep Space Nine, where they say, what better way to deal with Klingons than with another Klingon? What better way to deal with assholes than with another asshole? And she shines there for sure. And I was getting quite annoyed with her until that scene came up. And then she saved the day, and she was like, "Hey, all right, that's cool."
I mean, this whole episode this whole season is a feels like another reboot of another reboot. Because we keep being presented with these characters in a completely different light. So Saru was rebooted last season from being the guy in Season 1, Sense Coming Death, to not that. Now he's a captain, which is not where he was in Season 1, which is good for him.
Somebody described Saru really well to me. First season was like a scared little child. Second season was like a petulant teenager. And now he's like all grown up. And yeah, I can see that progression. I really like that description.
That's really good, but you can tell they're just reinventing the wheel each season on the fly. If that was a planned thing, of that would have been perfect, and you got the sense of him saying, "I want to be a captain after Season 1," that would have made way more sense.
I think the moments they're on screen together are gold. The sarcasm and the witty banter is great between those two.
Okay, yes, I think you're right. Although it feels like a one-note joke. These two people, like, we haven't really got anything for Stamets to do, and this new character can't just be being the engineer everywhere and make everyone else look bad. So it's just the same. It's like with Giorgio, it's the same joke, it's the same character beat again and again. But yeah, I love when, like I said, how the lady just walks in, it's like, well, I can do all these fixing things. Yeah, she's actually an engineer. Although, did the chief engineer go with them? Apparently, the entire crew went with them for some reason. So the chief engineer must have gone too. So where's the chief engineer and his entire staff? Why is they never? You know what I mean? These guys.
Maybe he died in the battle or something. Very, very, very Voyager-esque. I know they should have.
I never considered that. Yeah, if the entire crew should have stayed, the entire engineering crew should stay. So Jet should be listening to the chief engineer of the ship who've never met. Is there just no chief engineer? Is there no one there in engineering?
Yeah, because they didn't write that character. They didn't plan it, and then they got Jet, and she was in like 2 episodes of Season 2, and like where was she most of the time?
Yeah, it's very strange.
Now she's back.
That's what I mean. The whole season feels like if you go from here, you're like, oh, she's chief engineer. Because you don't need to know anything else about her. This is another hard reset to the season. But it's and I talk about Giorgio. She, I thought, was good in the bar, but she's a broken character because, again, she's rebooted. She was the Hitler of another universe. Every time she backs down to Saru, I'm like, I don't believe this for 1 second. She didn't get where she was by listening to Saru's people. Like, she should have already taken over Discovery. You know what I mean? Like, I don't. Why is she this submissive and pathetic when she was literally and she was clearly shown to be the badass I took over by murdering people. I do not buy for a single second that she's this docile.
Also, when she was talking to Linus about his visual acuity, I was like, the way she's looking at him, it's like she wants to eat you, dude. And she's wondering, your eyes probably sound really delicious because of your visual acuity. And I was worried for Linus when they walked away together. But Linus, said that she left to go help out Jet and Stamets. So he's still alive, thank God.
Yeah, and his lines were great. You feel more for him in those few little acted lines than lots of other characters had in all of previous seasons, which is nice.
That's what this episode, to me, I hope is setting up for season 3, is the fact that they're going to focus on these other characters and have an ensemble cast. Because even Bryce got more lines. We get to know a little bit more about some of those characters anyway. And Non, who came over from the Enterprise, who's now Chief of Security, I'm really liking her character. She's a really nice addition, and I really appreciate that. So if they can do more of an ensemble cast feel this season, I'm on board, because that's what I like. And it's sad. It says something that after one season of Lower Decks, I know everybody's name, but after 3 seasons or into third season of Discovery, I still don't know all the bridge crew.
And remember, they're double as long episodes.
Exactly. So that says a lot about the writing in this show based on compared to Lower Decks.
I did like Detmer's. She got this whole mini arc. Obviously, he's going to go somewhere. I mean, it's kind of like the implied something's really wrong. I mean, it wasn't the most exciting to watch, but implying something is going to be there. Like, assuming what I took from that is that there's a radiation in the future that's affecting her bio parts, and only she can detect it. So therefore, when she gets,
maybe it's the radiation or something that destroyed the dilithium and caused the burn, and they're going to be able to use that. See, the thing that I got from that was PTSD, because basically she lost control of the ship. She did crash land it, but it's one of those instances where after being thrown over the console, and just not having control, because your controls aren't responding, you're not working, as a pilot or as somebody in that kind of position, that can really set off a PTSD moment. And just the way they had the sound phasing in and out, that's what it seemed like to me. So I'm betting it's PTSD. A lot of people have been speculating that Control is now in her implant, which, if that's the case, I will be so pissed off. I do not want to hear about Control this season.
The Control is gone and dead, but I mean, he's not a very trustworthy sort of guy. Says whatever he wants. No, I get PTSD, but that would be so boring and make those scenes so bland. No offense to them, but the way it's implied, because she's a specialist person, and the hurt was very specific with her implant, not actually affecting it, but in the area that it's connected to, implying that it's all, like, it wasn't bruising. It felt more. It was so much of the episode relative to who the character is. That's like, that must be important. Otherwise, she's just hurt.
We saw this season on, and she was flying Book's ship, and she said, "Hold on, this is make it crazy. It might kill us," or whatever. I forget exactly what she said, but I have a feeling that that's going to be her arc for this season, is the fact she's got PTSD and has to rebuild her confidence as far as flying goes. That's what I feel. I could be totally wrong on that, but.
Well, let's talk about the crash then, because it's definitely was. We called it either would be the start or definitely wouldn't be the start, and it definitely was. But watching the crash, all I kept thinking was, you know how Voyager, when it crashed, it lost on a cell, and you know when Enterprise D crashed, its windows broke and it had hull breaches. How the hell is Discovery crashing, and besides things being offline, one part is destroyed, only one, and it's not even that crucial in terms of the ship's operation. It's just for communication rather than weapons, shields. And by the end of the episode, one day, 12-hour cycle, it can have some weapons full or some shields flying, no hull breaches. It was a stupid sequence that they want to have the action beat and move on. I was expecting to hear hull breaches. I was expecting to be crash for 5 episodes. I felt very let down by them. That it was complete. That's not how strong ships are, and it wasn't like max shields. It
solved one thing, in my mind anyway. But we'll talk about that in a second. The one thing I'm expecting to see is no deflector spikes on the deflector next time I see that ship. Because the way that thing dug in, there's no way those survived, even with the structural integrity field. No way. But we're going to see it pristine in space.
Well, there should
guaranteed.
be. At the very least, there should be paint scratches and gouges from the bottom. Like, that bit should be trashed because it went into rock. It went into really graphic destruction. It should be trashed.
Yeah, and the one thing I think it solved was As we saw in season 2, of course, they never put the damn shuttle bay door down. So why not put it down when you're going through a temporal wormhole where power could go offline? You could lose that force field that's keeping everything in the shuttle bay. So what happened was they went through the wormhole. Power did go offline, and shuttles started falling out. And since they were in a temporal wormhole, shuttles are being delivered to all time points in the galaxy. That's why there's Discovery shuttles everywhere.
Slow clap.
Right? So that's one thought I had.
Didn't happen, but I love it.
Yeah.
So what do you think of the crash then? Because it was just like the first episode. Just the first bit is not good. Just skip the first bit. Who cares? Move past it.
Yeah, it's not the best. And he says deflector beams, so they're not even phasers that they're firing. I don't know what the hell they're firing. It was not as good as Voyager's crash at all. And yeah, there should have been a lot more repercussions from that.
The whole episode felt absurdly easy. Because in reality, all they did is they crashed, and a massive crash. And we just saw the Cerritos crash in Holodeck, and that thing felt damaged. This was only 4 weeks ago, and that was a great, epic crash. This was absolutely nothing. So all they do is they then walk within a couple of hours to which a guy leads them to a base. They trade successfully for repairs, which they don't ask for in advance, so they're very trusting. I mean, that was a good scene, but I'm just saying very easy. A baddie turns up, Georgiou beats them quite easily. One guy dies, really sad. She murders everyone else easily, and then they get beamed back to the ship, done. And it's fixed. And that's the only thing they had to do to fix. Like, within one day, the whole episode just felt flat in that regard. That's why all the stuff on Discovery, it didn't mean anything in the grand scheme. It was all filler. Like, there's little bits of character.
Yeah, it built Sarah's character a bit for me, and not so much Tilly. I mean, Tilly wants to be a captain at some point, and she's standing there saying, my name doesn't have any impact or any strength. What? And then when the fighting happens in the bar, Sarah tells her to get behind the bar. No, you're a Starfleet officer. If you want to learn how to fight better, be a better officer, actually become a captain, you should be out there helping out, not hiding behind a bar. That really irritated me. She's an ensign. She's still a commissioned officer. It's her job to... she must have some kind of martial arts training from the academy. She should have been out there helping, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, the way they edited it... and there are practicalities. Not everyone's a stunt person. Not everyone can learn to fight successfully. When they cut to Saru, he did basically nothing physical because he's in stilts. He's in full, like the actor, you can't really have him do those big things without getting a full, stunt man in for full makeup to match him who has to learn, so Georgiou does the entire fight, which is fine because she can. I sense Tilly, the actress, isn't up for fighting. Like, that's just not part of her training. Like, some people can't ride horses ever, even though some people really can. It didn't stand out to me too much because it kind of feels like she's the opposite to any sort of combat officer. But yeah, she's fully, although she was rushed out of the academy, so I can imagine maybe she missed her semester on any sort of combat training. But yeah, the Tilly character in this was more of the same with a few one-liners. But again, to me, especially when they're walking, she feels like she's saying, "Mr. Saru, sir." It feels like he's been a captain for several years and she's new to the ship, rather than 2 years dealing with all this crap. Like, they're
resetting the character again, like you said with everybody else.
It doesn't feel like that would be the organic how they would act towards each other over that many years of interaction. It's strange. I mean, I know also they're in an unknown world, etc., so it would mentally be a bit reset, but it doesn't feel organic to... Like, if you watch season 1 and season 3 back-to-back, you'd be like, what? But speaking of, what do you think of the aliens in the bar, which are Corridons, which is a great plan. I actually had a bomb Corridon for the Romulan War, which is really... I didn't like doing that, but I did it.
They had a mining thing that was shut down by this other guy. It could be that the dilithium went boom, blew up some of the planet. Seems a little bit stupid, but I mean, that's... Why else would there be a big crater in the planet? Reference. I liked the aliens. I liked Cal. I thought him and Tilly... I thought he was going to come with them on Discovery. And I thought him and Tilly were going to have a bit of a thing.
Nope. They had a good bit of actor chemistry as well.
Yep, they're Starfleet. They'll help us. That's what they do. That kind of holding on hope. And even the whole talk later with the bartender saying, yeah, he always thought you guys would come. He always had faith that we're still part of the Federation, whether we know it or not. And that's the hope that the Federation gave everybody, and they still kind of have.
Well, you can't remove 1,120 years worth of hope. You know, that's every generation of your family that you could possibly, you know what I mean? That's a lot of time.
Yeah. No, and the bad guy was great. Like I said, that's an actor who was in Hell on Wheels. He was one of the main actors that, dealt with Pike or Anson Mount and Colm Meaney. So really good actor. I really like him. I wish. I mean, he could still come back.
Oh no, he'll go. He's going to. He's the assigned villain. I mean, God, he would have to want revenge on Discovery. Are you kidding? I mean, they completely destroyed his operation, killed his men, made him look a fool. They know Discovery's a piss poor ship that one probe with one microphaser can destroy. I mean, and literally his shuttle can kill them. So obviously he's going to come back and have revenge. Yeah, definitely. I mean, you don't bring that big a name. I don't know him personally, but yeah, he's been in a few. He was in Medium the entire show, so a named actor. You don't bring him for one episode normally.
Yeah, I just really liked his character. I liked his line delivery.
Yep.
Where Sarah's like, we have nothing to talk about. Okay, get this man a drink.
Yeah. And it's like, well, take us to Discovery. Oh, we want to take Discovery. Oh no, it wasn't a choice. That was my inflection was a command.
There's no implied choice here.
Yeah, I mean, what dude, what do you want? I mean, you're doing it. No, I think he honestly, as with other shows, when you have a really good actor that can put nuance in, it makes other actors look less strong, and Tilly especially, the level of... I mean, she's a much younger actress, fine, but you could tell Tilly actress is trying to act, the other guy is being a character. Obviously, Saru, Doug Jones, is embodying the character, but he didn't get... that's a very specific role he was trying to play there, very commanding, very captain, very classic. But yeah, he was definitely out-acting everyone else in the room. Just like Pike was out-acting people in his season, because he's just a better actor than a lot of these people.
And speaking of Saru, I gotta say, any of the shots or screen grabs I got of him against the Icelandic background are gorgeous. His makeup, those blue contacts, the depth of field, the color that's behind him, any of those shots are so amazingly done. Tilly, not so much. I mean, you think I'd love the Tilly shots. She didn't impress me in this episode, and she didn't look the best in this episode, to be fair. But those shots with Saru, that makeup is so well done. So I got to give them props for that. Like, that looked stunning.
But back on the bar, my thoughts on the guys. I actually thought all of those, all the Corridors were really well handled, and surprisingly so. As with last episode, what gives it that needed edge is that that optimism. You can give us the Dark World, but as long as you have that core optimism, and the fact that just their entire arc in this episode is about, yes, there is that, because they do not think the Federation's gone. Implicit, they're still out there, they just haven't come for us yet. So there's all these hints of there is, just not here, and also they don't know where they are, so they could be really far out or not. We haven't learned. I mean, they don't even know where their planet is. They are here, and yeah, the positivity and I thought was really needed and refreshing, and just helps to balance out. Although the fact that Stars don't have that much dilithium, how much do they have? Because normally you don't carry that much spare, and it made it sound as if he had a ton.
They're a science ship, so they could have a lot of stores on board for scientific experimentation or research. Plus, it depends how long their mission profile is going to be. They might have extras on board just in case.
I mean, it's a ship designed around the spore drive. That's its primary drive. So you wouldn't think you would have 1 billion. I mean, I know it can fail, but I mean, okay, I mean, you can retcon that saying, yes, well, 10 of the 130 science were about dilithium. Why? On the spore drive ship that was a warship in Season 1, that was an explorer in Season 2. I mean, you can retcon that, but I don't think it's an organic thing to say they've got 14 cases of dilithium lying around. That's what it's more interesting if the warp core has got a big chamber of dilithium and they have to pull pieces off, and as they pull it out, they know, like, that's more interesting, the limitedness of it, but it sounds as if they have loads.
The only other thing we really need to talk about, I think, is the ending, which a lot of people were pissed about, that Michael saved the day. I disagree. I thought the ending was perfectly handled. A few things, though, I want to mention. Burnham's reaction to seeing them after a year was fantastic. The smile on her face.
She's acting.
Reaction, I know. Her character's getting better this episode, or this season, as you said.
Less Burnham, more character.
The bridge crew's reaction to finally seeing Michael, even though they had no idea where she was. They had no idea how they were going to communicate with her. They didn't know if she had come out of the time thing fine. There's a lot of ifs, and then all of a sudden she's there on their screen.
Super easy. Barely an inconvenience.
Absolutely. But the problem I had with that scene, though, is the whole... First of all, I expected her to show up to save them. But then they kind of throw a wrench in the works by saying there's a large ship above us. Well, first of all, that won't be Book's ship, so I'm like, okay, maybe it's not her.
Even though what's behind her are the things that are in Book's ship that go up and down. That's clearly Book's ship set.
There's a line of dialogue saying it's a large ship. Oh, maybe his friends have shown up, the bad guy in the bar. So they throw you off for a second there. So for a second, I'm thinking, is it really Michael? Or is she like, did she get another ship? Did she's been there a year. She could have contacted the Federation. It could be a Federation ship that's saving them. It is a pretty wide tractor beam. And I have no problem with it being a really strong tractor beam on Book's ship because it's the future. So more advanced tractor beam for sure. So just that line of dialogue saying it's a big ship, it threw me off because I know Book's ship isn't big. And from the preview we get from the next episode, it seems like it is Book's ship. I thought the ending was perfectly handled. A lot of people liked the episode up till the end, and they're like, oh, well, of course Michael Burnham had to save the day.
So the ending for me, I didn't really bat an eyelid at. It makes sense. I was disappointed that it's going to be that easy, but I can imagine next week we'll get a 1 year ago, like she'll tell the story. Like I was surprised how easy the first 2 episodes were. First episode, Burnham exists. Second episode, they find Discovery. Oh, okay. Well, that was quick. Like, there's no real tension there. It's just done. Which means it's a small part of the season, which is interesting in itself. But I was more annoyed by how absolutely easy just the escape was. Like, they fixed ship instantly, no hull damage, no, everything works. Now, yes, they didn't get through the ice, which is good. Although, again, Saru's not the best captain. Full power! So we can't do it. Even more power then! Dude, if force is not the option, stop saying more force. You understand it's going to damage your ship?
Rocket back and forth or something.
He had no acting there. It's that classic thing of like, sometimes in visual effects and stuff they say, evasive maneuvers, cut to CGI, it's just going straight, because it's just like, well, that's not a maneuver, is it, you dumbass? So I thought that was lame, but the beginning was lame, so it was just consistent with the episode. And then breaking through the ice, although you would think, again, the force of the tractor beam would be really bad, because it's just more force to damage the ship on the ice. Like, more force is not necessarily the option here, because it's, it would have been nice if she'd I was expecting lasers to cut it and then bring it up. Didn't get that, although it could be a tractor beam that changes the chemical nature of the ice, which is fine, but that should have been in the dialogue.
I expected Discovery to either start firing phasers or polarize the hull or electrify the hull or something.
Yeah, something smart. And I was definitely expecting, because Burnham's fine, it's just a bit easy. I was expecting a Federation ship to come in, and it would be like, and then it would either be huge or really small, and then you'd have on the view screen a Federation captain in a chair saying, "USS Discovery, you're a long way from home." And so I was like, "Oh, Captain." But yeah, so like I said, for closing thoughts, like I said, for me, most stuff on Discovery was okay, fine, whatever. Okay, low end, fine, nothing special. A few moments, but for how much time spent fixing stuff, there's very few character moments. The Georgiou character doesn't make sense with how she's characterized originally. Just a hard reset. Every character's a hard reset. How can we compare to previous seasons? The thing is, that's what you've set up. That's what you've constructed into the story. Like I was expecting Georgiou to take over. Like Saru is a commander. She's also a commander in a high-ranking division of Starfleet, Station 31. She should be able to outrank him if she wants to. But the stuff in the bar was good. Bit too long. They stretched the episode out, but it was interesting stuff in the bar. Good Corridon, good Saru, okay Tilly, great villain, good pace for the most part. Terrible crash, not very good end conceptually for how easy it was. And I hope we're going to have repercussions later on with how damaged the ship is. We won't. It'll be absolutely fine. The shop will be open. It'll be flawless. It'll be the Voyager effect. But, when Voyager can do a crash better 25 years ago, well, 22 years ago, and Lower Decks can do a better crash 4 weeks ago, it's not the best thing for you guys.
My closing thoughts is, it's the best episode of season 3 so far, in my opinion.
I enjoyed last week more.
I really like the stuff on Discovery. I like the crew interactions. I like the crew in general. So I was really a fan of, and I care more about the ship and the crew than I do about Michael Burnham. And that's why I was hoping that this episode would have been last episode, That's what I was expecting for the beginning of the season. And I did enjoy the bar scenes. I liked the villain. I thought the aliens in the bar were very well handled as well. Kind of disappointed in the Tilly character this week, but, that's neither here nor there. Sarah really impressed me with his command style, and I'm glad like Non, Commander Non, or whatever her rank is.
Yeah, come on.
She, last season wasn't impressed, didn't care about her. This one episode, she's starting to grow on me. So I hope that they continue her characterization and not just forget about her like they tend to do with characters. Love Stamets too as a character. His interactions with Jet were awesome, and Culber. Good to see them back together. That was something that really I wasn't impressed with last season, where Culber was kind of acting weird and didn't want a relationship. So, like I said, I enjoyed the stuff on Discovery. I enjoyed the whole episode generally. I mean, overall, I just wish this would have been episode 1, and then the Burnham episode could have been episode 2. But, I think it would have been much more of a mystery as to what happened to Michael Burnham if they just started with this episode, you know? It'd be cool to see how many flashbacks they do have, even this last year, or just the burn in general. So, anyway, that's it for this one, guys. Let us know what you thought about this episode and down in the comments below. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to click that notification bell icon to all, because we do a lot of really good stuff here, breaking down the episodes, looking at the ships, and doing a lot of lives, talking about different topics.
But Stuart, what will we talk about tonight?
Tonight will be our live reaction, and it's about 2 hours. We break down every scene, and we just talk about it, point out the good and the bad, because there's good and bad in all Star Trek, and we're here to talk about that and create some discussion and just general conversation.
It should be good. There's a lot of scene-by-scene stuff, as we always do. Come on, we always find and discover new things at Discovery, and we can call out the great and bad CGI, etc. But yes, tune in for that. And of course, Super Chat if you can, Patreon if you can, PayPal if you can, join the channel if you can, like if you can, subscribe if you can, and send us cookies if you can. Probably you can't though, but if you could, do.
All right, so until next time, when I have cookies, I'm Captain Foley.
I'm Connor Guns. Bye guys.
Bye guys.